is what I want to unpack. She yearns for her freedom, even so much to the point where she puts herself and constantly puts herself in danger. And she think, but and she has this past of
Yeah.
being like a, I guess a courtesan is a good word. Remember that word, you know. Um, but
Yep. Yep.
it's just right off the bat, it's a bad idea. It's a no go, and he's trying to convince her to stick with Turbo.
Take it away, Jake.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Turbo Pit Fighter, the making of. I am Jake Jacobs. I am the penciler and the main script writer, and my partner is Kurt Brugel.
Hello.
He is the inker and my scripting partner, and he is also the heavy duty tech guy here, taking care of the heavy lifting on getting these episodes to you and editing them down, which is time consuming, and we definitely appreciate that. Um, we are going to be going over the current status of the pages that we're working on for issue 1 and issue 2 of Turbo Pit Fighter, which is a science fiction post-apocalyptic romance story with tons of action. It centers around Turbo, who is a strong, muscular female, and for some reason that seems to be very rare supply, and we talk about that. And we will bring you through this entire world that we're creating for a planned 6-issue graphic novel. How's it going down in Delaware, Kurt?
It's going fantastic. I am on page 14 of issue 1, basically where I left off last week. So I still have the whole bottom here to get into. Past pictures or pages. We got a page 13. A lot of action. It's one of my favorite panels right here with the
Yeah, large explosion. Yeah,
so
explosions are fun, right?
hell yeah. Challenging
I
too.
was I was just looking at I think a Fantastic Four comic. Oh, it's right here, and
Oh, sweet.
this is when John Byrne was working on it. He had the script and pencils. This is 1985, so this is a long time ago. And John Byrne, has taken over the whole thing. You can see there's Doctor Doom, and you know, ah, a lot of talking heads for me, a lot of words. Real heavy story. I guess if you're into it, it's great, but um, and look, not only that, the origin of Doctor Doom. So this was some serious stuff when they turned over the reins to John Byrne. But look, and they even have some N word here, so they were getting
What?
into some like racial stuff.
Wow.
When there's racism here, that I think this was done to lure the Human Torch into like getting trapped or something. She-Hulk is here. Speaking of muscular women,
Nice.
and look, she's lifting up Wyatt Wingfoot because they're a couple. Um, but a giant explosion. The Baxter Building completely explodes on the last page, and I was just
Oh
thinking
wow.
about how do we draw explosions? Like, nowadays the special effects for explosions in movies is so realistic. It's so good. But, in comics, how do we do this on the comic page? And, I might even complain about, this is kind of like not the greatest. Like, this is a building exploding. So, you have all these little manga lines, which is a cop out, but it's at the same time it's always a great design to have these radial lines. Um, and I think in my explosions, I like to draw a lot of debris. I think that
Yeah,
makes it more realistic.
I agree.
But here it is. It's just like some blasts and some curly clouds, right? So what do you think about explosions on drawing a whole page or a whole panel of explosion?
Yeah, I totally agree. You got to have debris. To just show a puff of smoke. is pretty lazy. But I think even more importantly, it's, part of the page design too. A lot of artists, myself included, can just get mesmerized by one panel and something in there, and then kind of forget how it works with other panels. For
Yeah, well,
storytelling. You
that's a
know.
good point. When you're looking at an explosion on on a paper, whatever the design is of it, like some kind of like hypnotizing mandala design, it
Hmm.
should be planned out with the other elements of the page. It
Hmm.
should be planned out with, story, dialogue. You're gonna have definitely a sound effect, with lettering, and what is the design? What's the overall design? So that's a great point. Um,
Well, like
and
just to bring this back, I talked about it either last episode or the episode before. The mesmerizing part of it for me was the integration of the explosion with the sound effect, which, as comic book goes, it's almost like that's how it has to be, because I'm reading the pages, words and pictures. But as I was talking before in the last episodes, I really want to map out that the whole panel is vibrating, and that even this bar counter is kind of like just shifting and everything, and then even darkening more of Turbo, running away. So the whole panel inside the page just reads really well. She's running towards us, and then we're behind her, and then we're looking outside, and then she does the jump and grab. I mean, but I'm really going to spend a lot of time on this panel, even just thinking about it, because it's super cool.
right. Yeah, so there's a little thinking inside thinking, folks, about how you approach, something like an explosion. We are going to have some explosions here, especially in the future issues when we get to that gun that gets developed, and that the new technology that Turbo is instrumental in being the messenger for, to bring to the world, or bring to the resistance. Um, I'm hitting a little snag here because I realized that I'm drawing page 7, and if anybody remembers from last time, we have this action sequence where this guy, the hate breeder guy, jumps on to Turbo, tries to choke her out. She very quickly responds by flipping him over, but this other guy is climbing into the van like already, and here will be dialogue, and then he comes in and he's swooping through the window, and he's kicking the gopher robot, and he's tearing the arm off of it with this kick. Here's the thumbnails for the whole page. um and Turbo's going to be close by to respond and take the guy out, and then Trophy will also be here to react. um right? And Trophy's gonna have to take the wheel because the arm of the robot is kicked off, or maybe even arms. But I'm trying to draw that now, and I realized that in issue 1, when I drew the Gopher robot, you have he's got, like, clothing on. He's got this like robe or cloak or whatever on
I
his
can't see
arm.
it. I can't see.
So right here.
Okay, great. Yeah, yeah, good, good, good. Yeah, nice,
So
nice.
now I'm having to, draw this clothed arm with fabric on it. That's being ripped off. So I guess I'm making it shred the fabric. It could be a
Yeah.
tearaway, fabric like plastic or something, but vinyl. But if I would have known then, I would have designed it so that his arms would have been bare, and so we could just see all the machinery falling apart. But yeah, I'm trying to execute this page, which is here on Rough going to be this guy swinging into the window and kicking this robot apart. with Turbo close by. So now I have to draw it. It's so easy to draw in thumbnail because everything's just like gesture pose, and just indicator of what's going on. It doesn't have to look good. And now when you're doing it, the whole thing, it's got to be anatomy and proportion and foreshortening and realism and all that. It's got to be a good style. So sometimes we use our eraser to get it right.
Erasers are just as much a part of the drawing process as pencil lines.
Yeah.
But I've always told my students, don't ever think of the eraser as a mistakes tool. It's just whatever went down is not what is needed. So you're just modifying. And then I always like the ghosting, the things that are left there, the little sketchy ghost that's left after you're erased. And then you're thinking, oh, wait a second, I'll just go left instead of right on this here.
Oh, right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
yeah,
A lot of times, well, sometimes you can revise without erasing, if that's the case,
sure.
like if I was to start out, do I have it here? If I have a blue pencil, I could, I could sketch this out with a blue pencil first, and then you can, what you're talking about there, I do all the time when I'm doing my lettering is I leave my original eraser lines there and I just go over it with like darker lines because this way you can see them both. And sometimes you split the difference when you're inking or finishing it, and sometimes you incorporate the erased lines into like maybe like a highlight design, right? Like a lighting uh, design. Maybe that's a little bit out there for people to follow, but um,
Well, to add to that, I think one of the things is that really debilitates people, excuse me, is the idea of perfection. So you have some weird idea in your head that this is how it perfectly needs to look. And then you start drawing, you're like, this doesn't even look anything like it. And so then you become frustrated, you erase because you think you've made a mistake, and then you end up falling down a hole. But if you can put lines down to help you move in the right direction, then when you're just kind of taking some of them away, then you're just going to keep going in the right direction.
yeah, whenever I have a student ask me for an eraser, I always I always give them praise and to the rest of the class. I was like, "Aha! Somebody's doing some revisions. This is great to see."
Yeah.
And then you could
Yeah.
you tap,
Yeah.
you tap the sign. Look, I have a sign in my classroom that says revision 3 times, and the first 2 times it's spelled wrong and crossed out. And it's in like calligraphy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, learning moment and everything, but for adults, it's just like, yeah, sometimes you need 3 times, 4 times to get something right. Um, sometimes it's never right, and you just gotta, keep erasing it and getting it right. But yeah, like right now, like I have this guy swinging through here. I just don't like it at all. I have it kind of like blocked out. It doesn't seem like there's any force, so I'm going to erase. I'm going in with my eraser.
Woo!
Let's try this again. Maybe I'll keep some of these light lines and like you say. But yeah, on my page we are in the just in the middle of like a 6-page action sequence. I'm only like on the second page of a 6-page action sequence where we're going to be one by one taking out these hate breeder guys, these berserker guys. And so it's going to be a process of just they're just relentless and they keep pouring in to the truck. And obviously they're after Trophy Girl because they saw this stunning woman, and she was a prize in the uh, pit fight that Turbo met her in, and Turbo was in the previous pit fight right before it. She was supposed to win some radioactive currency, um, and the fight went bad. I mean, the whole thing went bad because there was a siege on the venue. The Everybody was killed, and Turbo and Trophy Girl made it out alive. Turbo saved her skin, and these guys are still in hot pursuit, and they will continue to be in hot pursuit throughout this comic. I'm laying out the future pages, which I did yesterday, and they will always be like, a couple of miles behind them, even when they defeat these guys in this scene, and they get like a little bit of a head start, going to El Bravo or El Bravacho town. Um, there's still going to be a couple of these guys that are not like completely dead and not completely debilitated, and still able to get their motorcycles back up and running, and maybe one car. So I just kind of laid that out in thumbnails, I believe, late last night. Well, I did some of it late last night. I guess we can just show this now since I'm on it. And
Yeah, I would see it. I would.
yeah, so these are the thumbnails, and I'll send you the high res of these. But right now, this is the page I'm working on, which I showed you guys. No, this is not the page. This is the page I'm. Hello, give me a second. Um, yeah, I mean, people might notice here. These are really rough thumbnails. Okay, so I'm on page 7 right here, and this is what it looks like in miniature thumbnail. Right before I showed you the rough full page, from just like a spiral notebook. Um, but so what's going to happen is there's going to be this big fight sequence. We went over this already. Um, the new thumbnails is going to be the very end of the book. And I don't know if you can see here, but it says page 26, 27, 28,
Okay,
29,
great,
30.
great.
So here's what's new from last time. From last time,
So you have issue two. You have issue two laid out.
well, yeah, I just got to do 2 more pages.
Two
Yeah,
more.
I gotta plan out and lay out or thumbnail out pages 29 and 30, and then I'm planning to
Okay.
reserve 2 pages for uh you know filler matter, whatever, other stuff that might turn out to be important. um so we are going from 28 pages in the first edition to 30 in this edition, and I will probably do 30 from here on. But here is where we left off last time. When we last left off, um we were coming out of flashback when Turbo was being her face was being dabbed by Trophy Girl, because she had blood all over it from the hate breeders, and they're going cruising down. I showed you guys this last time. They're cruising down this long hill, full of potholes and debris, to try to get to this town called El Bravo, which is going to be desert. And again, there's like, oh, I see people. They're heavily armed. Are they RM, which is the military regime? No, they're freebooters. This whole town is full of deserters, mercs, and gearheads. We've got company, so already they're being pursued. Remember that. Should I drop some tumbler eggs? No. Just they're just gonna let them follow. But before she can even answer the question, on this page, it's hard to see, but we're going to meet Mr. Ike. He is going to be the mechanic slash tinkerer slash inventor that will become Turbo's man at arms, and help her win her next pit fight, with weaponry and advice and everything. The corner man, you might call it. But as they meet him, he's running away from these explosions. He's being shot at by his wife, who's got an RPG. You might not be able to see that so well here, but I think I have this on a bigger page. So here's the new stuff. Um, they're driving away, and you see a scene here of the wife, and she's frustrated, and the gun is smoking, or the grenade launcher is smoking. There's going to be word balloons where she's going to where Turbo is going to be getting the explanation why he's running away, Says his wife, her name will be Ardina, uh, is after him because he cheated on her. Um, and then here's our first good look at Mr. Ike. And I'm planning to, I know this looks weird. I'm planning to draw him a little bit like the Nowhere Man from the Beatles, maybe. That might be one reference. He will have like a breathing mask on, and he will have these little flip down glasses that are like circular, and he'll have like bozo hair out to the side. And so that's all I got so far. But we're gonna work on that when we do our character design episode. Um, right, right as soon as he gets in the van, he gets lifted up into the van, and their pursuer is destroyed. So that's going to be another explosion when the RPG hits the pursuer instead of them because they're driving serpentine as he instructed. Right off the bat, he's looking at the damage to the truck and the damage to the robot, and he's saying, "Yeah, I could fix this, but it's going to cost you." And then Turbo says, "How about I just saved your life?" And he says, "My life is not worth what you think, but anyway, you're going to need money for parts." Um, so they drive in. Oh, and this is all being said as they're driving into this little cave, which is going to lead to an underground tunnel. And then here's a little shot of inside. You're going to see in the underground tunnel, there's long benches of people doing work on machinery and technology. And she says, "What is this place?" And then he'll say the name of the place. It's called, let's just say Shangri-La for now. But we'll come up with a name for that. This is where they can fix up your truck, and he says it's kind of like a homeless shelter for tech heads. She says it looks like a junkyard. So yeah, there'll be a lot of like piles and scraps of all kinds of things. So they pull up to a service bay, and you'll see somebody waving them on. And Mr. Ike identifies there's Phil, um, the robot fixer guy. He's your man. Um, and then next page, it's going to be it's going to be Mr. Ike coming in with like this long repair bill. Okay, they gave me the repair cost, and you see Turbo is asleep on a couch here or a cot, and he says how and Trophy says she's asleep. He says how convenient, and Trophy Girl's looking at a map and says, "What's this region called?" Blah 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 like, and I just wrote Vegas in because it's going to be a Vegas like place, and we need to come up with a name. Um, and so this is the little conversation that Trophy's going to have with Mr. Ike. It's a big gambling town, lots of high rollers. Why? Well, that's where I'm headed. Then you sure about that? It's not so safe for a kid like you. And then here, like, I don't even have any like thumbnails. I just have dialogue because it basically just be talking heads. But I do try to keep this to a minimum, but we have to move the story along. So um, Mr. Ike is going to try to convince her to stay with Turbo. Aren't you with Turbo? And she's right there asleep. So this is funny. And here on this shot, you can see that she's actually awake, but you can't see her. Like, so she's listening to this the whole time, right? So this is going to be like in her feelings.
Yeah.
You with Turbo? Don't see a future with her. She'll keep you safe. You don't know me. You don't know my past, right? So here we're alluding to this, and I'm not sure. I wanted to ask you: should I explicitly say, when he says that's a gambling town, lots of high rollers? She goes, "That's where I'm headed." Then do I need to explicitly say that she wants to be a high priced call girl, or that's what her intent is, or is that
So
is that
once again, I have to bring back up uh, the language creating a time, an error in history, let's say, whether it's past, present, or future. So when you use the term call girl, that's once it's a 50s, 60s kind of thing,
Or yeah,
because
it could be
now they're
anything:
called
hooker, call
escorts.
girl, or
Um,
lady of the night.
but at the same time, we do have the ability to be able to come up with our own term. Because you know, trophy girl, we could even move that along a little bit better. So in other words, you got a moment where you can, you know, my job as a trophy is blah 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 blah. I should be able to fetch more at Vegas Town, blah 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 blah. So we don't even have to hit people over the head with call girl, escort, or whore.
Yeah,
We actually have a terminology because she has a real name, which is Talon, but there's always going to be this kind of play back and forth because I really like the idea of just
yeah.
calling her at times trophy, which is like calling her a whore.
Well, it's
That
more
could
like
be
a
like where
slave.
um, Turbo gets pissed at her. Turbo gets pissed at her. Well, it's a. I don't see her as
No,
like
she's a
doing
sex
dishes
slave,
and
but
laundry. That's what I'm saying though. But the trophy is a category of being a sex slave or
right. Well,
prostitute.
it's for her, I mean, this is the thing. Like, there's a lot that I want to say in this dialogue all at once, but I don't really mind what
Yep.
word we use. So
Right.
it's a good point when I say call girl. Like, of course, that's like a nowadays thing. But to be a for hire, what do they call? There's all these
Well, how do
courtesan.
you become a trophy
Well,
girl?
we'll
How do you become a trophy girl? Is it you just get caught and then they just go, "Wow, you're pretty.
right.
I'll
Well,
put you in the glass case," and then
yeah,
these guys fight over,
that's what Mr. Ike
you
is
being
telling
was
her
one of the
right off the bat.
prizes.
It's not safe for a kid like you. You'll just be captured and then you'll be
Yeah.
enslaved. In 2 seconds. Like, this is the thing. Like, she. This is what I want to unpack. She yearns for her freedom, even so much to the point where she puts herself and constantly puts herself in danger. And but and she has this past
Yeah.
of being like I guess a courtesan is a good word. Remember that word? You know. Um but
Yep. Yep.
it's just right off the bat, it's a bad idea, it's a no-go, and he's trying to convince her to stick with Turbo because at least she'll have protection. um and he knows that Turbo is powerful, and but at the same time, Turbo's always doing these pit fights, and so she could always lose a pit fight, and then it's all over. And but she's no worse off, I guess. So what I want to try to convey is that she has this plan to get away and to go where in her mind where she thinks that there's just going to be these really nice rich guys that take care of her and make her a pet and pamper her, and that's the only. Yeah, good one, right? Sugar
Sugar
daddy. So I'm
daddy.
gonna write courtesan and sugar daddy, and maybe we'll update that, but we'll allude to sugar daddy some way, right? Um, but
Yeah.
there's no options for her in this world anymore, and so she sees that as her best bet. And we are going to, I do want to, I want to get into, at some point, that she feels like her looks are a curse, and that and that right off the bat, Mr. Ike is the guy that she has these conversations with because she doesn't feel like she can have them with Turbo. It's too awkward with Turbo. So I don't know if we can get this all into page 27 here, um, because I don't like to overdo it with too much dialogue. Maybe we'll have other points in the
Yeah.
next issue where she has these that she continues these heart to hearts with Mr. Ike. But yeah, just to finish page 27, I don't Turbo will keep you safe. You don't know me. You don't know my past. And then Mr. Ike says, I suppose we'll find out because we should be making our way there anyway. And then he points to the sign up on the wall for the Big Deal Regionals, right? Not the Big Deal Nationals, but the Big Deal Regionals.
Hmm.
Um, we'll be headed there anyway. And um, there's there that's where the pit fight is. And page 28, I have a long view shot of the little city town here, with the hate breeders coming down the mountain pass just like they did. And this time there'll only be like maybe 3 bikes and a car. So the contingent has really shrunk, but they're still in hot pursuit, and they're, a couple of miles behind. They're just getting into the city. They don't know that they're going to be in the cave, so they're going to be roaming around this city, which is which is going to be hot. But speaking of hot pursuit, this big muscle guy right here in panel 2, page 28, this big muscle guy and this other like mechanic-y guy come up to them, and they say time to pay up, because they did all the work. So the van is fixed, the robot is fixed, and you know we don't know if the have enough radioactive currency, radioactive peas to put in the gas tank, um, or they'll have to borrow that too. But they say time to pay up, and you know it'll be clear that Ike said that they don't have any money, but they can either pay with the van, the robot, or the girl. So, and this will be like some muscle moving in. Um, and so they will have to make a tough choice, but then Mr. Ike quickly comes in and he says, "Wait, here you go." And he has some peas hidden that nobody knew about. They were hidden in his tools, and he says something like, "You didn't really think I was getting tools. I was getting this, because
Right.
it's much more valuable." Um, and then he makes it explicit. "I want to join you, Turbo. Let me be your second for the regionals." And he's pointing to the sign, and he's encouraging her to go do this pit fight. Um, so they're driving away already, and you see them putting the peas in these little tubes, and we're explaining how cars go, how the engines run. It'll all be all electric, and they're putting these little peas in the tubes. One is the beryllium, and one is the other radioactive uh, material, and they go in just the right proportion, maybe like 3 to 1 or whatever, and then the car goes. There's also a comment: "We can't stay here. The HBs are on the hate breeders are on our tail." And then all I have left is "better hit the road." We'll plant a rumor that we went out to Parchment Ranch, and then meanwhile we head west. So they're gonna try to throw the hate breeders off their tail by leaving word with these guys that they went somewhere else, that they're not actually going. And so then they're heading off into the sunset, to go to the Big Deal Regionals. And page 29 and 30 will be reserved for the scene right out of the Road Warrior, where as I'm planning it, there's going to be like some travelers that are also on their way to a pit fight, and they're going to get stopped and ransacked by these berserkers, and then we will meet the unbeknownst one, and we will see the depths of the cruelty that they impose. And I don't know, in 2 pages, I don't know if there's enough for a battle between the pit fighter guy from their entourage and the unbeknownst one, but he will obviously, because we only have 2 pages, he will obviously be dispatched immediately. And then they'll be strung up, or they'll be tortured, or whatever. I don't know. I haven't really mapped it out yet, but 2 pages of storytelling is definitely going to go quick, because you only have like maybe 8 or 10 panels. Especially if there's a lot of action. So that is going to finish out page issue
Woo!
2. Once I have those two thumbnails, and and I'm just laying out the pencils, but at least the ideas like sketched out, and broken down, and all we have to do is lay it out and then put in like the fine details of, like, fine tuning the dialogue and what have you. So, um, we're making progress. We're definitely making progress.
Hell yeah. Yes, we are. One day a week.
Yes, I know. Well, thank God for that, because
Exactly.
I don't want to tell you how much you're stressing me out with all all these like side videos, and we are
I hear
planning
you.
on doing, like, um
Breakout
yeah, breakup videos.
videos.
So it's like it's going to be like sped up. For me, it's going to be like sped up drawing, so you can see me drawing like in, miraculous fast motion. Yeah, everything just but we also planning to we have some character design to do, and we also are planning on doing some mapping of the region, and then that'll extend out eventually to, whatever this world will be. But we just need to be concerned with kind of like the regions that are in the graphic novel, which we're doing one page, one issue at a time. And so maybe we'll put some thought into, how this is laid out, and where there are still outposts of civilization, and what are considered badlands, where it's just renegades and cutthroats out on the road. um and that will be the thing here, because in the present day of adult Turbo, now you planted in my mind 28-year-old Turbo. I don't know why that's planted in my mind. I think maybe she could be 24, who knows. Um but it'll be, the world is anarchy, right? There's no government authority, there's no military anymore. And when we're in the young Turbo scenes, there is a military, and there is a ruling family, and there is, a kind of like a civil war going on between the two, and everybody else is like, collateral. That's when there's technology like drones flying around, and it's dangerous, but in a kind of a different way. So we will definitely have, two different worlds, and it's kind of the difference between Mad Max #1 and Road Warrior #2. Mad Max #1 and Mad Max #2, where the world has descended greatly. And um, for our sci-fi epic here, it won't necessarily be any better or worse. It'll just be different, right? Because there's still danger at every turn, whether it's the military in young Turbo days, or whether it's the anarchy and the berserkers in old Turbo days.
Yeah, everybody's out for themselves.
Well, isn't that a analogy for
I'm not saying an analogy. I'm just saying everybody's out for themselves. So has things really
right? Isn't
changed
that a
that much?
commentary on the world we live in?
Well, it's we always have been this way. There's nothing new about us. We've been slowly evolving.
Well, that you I
So
think the Road Warrior movies were a commentary on, definitely the reliance on fossil fuel, and the
yeah,
desperation, and I think it had a lot of meaning for, you know the wars of choice that we had, like, the Iraq War, and the Middle East, where Western powers were, seeking the natural resources, right? I think that has a lot to do with it, but they also kind of like spin that out into the future, where they're just, the Australian outback, and there's just nothing left but open road, and everyone's just trying to get some gas to survive, and get out into. I mean, we don't even know where Max wanted to go. Max had no plan. He just wanted some gasoline, so that he could just go back on the road. He had a great ride, and he had a doggy, right?
Yeah.
But so that's a little bit of looking into that um, series. But here, and then we saw the Fury Road sequel, which I love, and and Charlize Theron was a strong female lead character, even though there was a strong male character, Tom Hardy. He did not overshadow her, and they really complemented each other, especially by the end, because everybody just made it. Everybody just survived.
Hello. You're gonna have to get a pack of frozen peas to cool that phone down again, if you can still hear me. Jake. Jake. Well, we are coming up on the 45-minute mark. This might be a shorter than 45-minute, which makes it even incredibly more bite-sized, the way we want to keep these episodes. See if Jake comes in anytime soon. But, oh, look at that. Now you can see this is the whole bottom part of page 14. So she's just kicking the crud out of one of these dudes. But like I said, I'll give Jake a minute or two. I'm also just really in the zone for inking. So no harm, no foul. And then take it from there. Bam. By the way, these brushes that I'm using, let me get my camera to focus in. This is the Fudenosuke from Tambo. This is the softer tip, which gives me a bigger, broader brush stroke. So I always use that for closer objects and people. So finish this guy. And then if we don't hear from Jake, we'll bow out. Oh, here he is. Are you heating up?
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
You got to remind me next time. I need the ice pack.
Nice pack. Yeah. Well, look, I was just saying to the Turbo Knots that are watching us all the way towards the end of episode 23 here that we're coming to the 45-minute.
Yeah,
So we can do a little quick closeout. We can cool the phones down and then head into episode 24.
right.
So,
And just
but yeah, we were just leaving off at the apocalyptic world and how Mad Max and 1, 2, 3, and 4 are inspiring us.
yes, because we're not rip-off artists. We are inspired, and there's major differences between our novel here and Mad Max, but the post-apocalyptic genre is probably my favorite genre. And in order to tease our very next episode, Kurt,
Hmm.
you'll be excited to hear that. And speaking of post-apocalyptic, that last night I saw the Commandy animation. It's
What?
unbelievable. Yes. So we got
What?
to talk about that. You hear that reaction, folks? He gasped audibly.
What?
So we will get into that and much more now that I have my ice pack. We can do this, um, hopefully without overheating anymore.
Right, right. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. And if you made it this far, you are officially a turbo knot. So we will see you in the next episode. And if you have anything to give us in the way of feedback, comments, uh, please make them down below, and we are definitely going to read them. So
Right.
thanks
We're
again,
not up to
and
we're not up to pre-orders yet, but
oh no,
we'll be mentioning that along the way.
yep, yep. All right, so I say goodbye.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the very next episode. Just let the YouTube automated service just roll you into the next one. How about that?
Cool.
Hands.
See ya.
Bye.